In this video, I built the Siege of Mandalore out of Lego. I spent the last year buying minifigures and sets so that I could make my biggest mock ever. But before I show you the final outcome, we need to start at the beginning. The first thing I needed was a base to build on, but unfortunately I didn't have much free space. So I had to dismantle my current biggest mock, this Clone Wars battle. I spent a bit of time disassembling this mock, removing the builds and minifigures from the base. So here is the mock base without any minifigures or builds on it. I have here another base plate, which I'm going to add on this side of it. What I'm going to do is dismantle this slightly, and then put the base plate down and build it up and reconnect them so it's 3 long rather than just 2. Then I'll have an even bigger base to build Mandalore on. Adding the third base plate took much longer than you would have expected. I spent a good while removing the tan plates, adding the third base plate and building it up. Then I covered it in grey plates so I had an all grey base to begin with. So I have finished the mock base and it looks pretty good. It's all grey, whereas before I had bits of beige in it and I'd preferred all grey, so that's good. What I need to do now is start building, so that's the daunting part, but each step of the way, I guess. So with the base complete, I started building. At first I started making a long tunnel, but I didn't think it was a great use of space. So after looking at some reference photos of Mandalore, I started making something similar. I started making a big platform at the back and then started working on 2 buildings on either side. The idea was that this would make it look like Mandalore, but still leave enough space for minifigures to fight each other. Okay, so I've made some good progress on the base. I've been working on this back platform here, as you can see, and the whole build's looking pretty good. However, I'm running out of storage on my phone, so I'm going to build a whole lot off camera and see how much I can get done. I'll update you guys in a bit. Okay, so it's been a few days and I finally finished building Mandalore. I don't want to show you guys until I've added the minifigures, but trust me, it's looking great. Speaking of minifigures, I need to add some to this mock. Currently I don't have too many. I only have a few 332nd troopers and a couple of Mandalorians, and I'm gonna need a few more to really make this mock look good. But thankfully, over the last year I bought loads of Lego sets with great minifigures for this mock, and after waiting patiently for a year, it's time to open these sets and add them to the base. In total I had 9 Lego sets and 10 magazines with great minifigures to add to this base. I had Captain Rex's Y-Wing, some Mandalorian battle packs, 2 Mandalorian speeders, and a Mandalorian ship. Not to mention a bunch of Mandalorian minifigures from these Lego Star Wars magazines. So after waiting for a year in some cases, I opened each of these sets and minifigures so that I could add them to the mock. So I've just finished building all the sets and these minifigures are looking great for an army. However, because I bought a bunch of the same minifigures, there isn't much variation. So what I'm going to do is go back and customize some of these minifigures so that I have some unique warriors for my battle. Because I had 5 Speen Red minifigures, I mixed her up with this brown Mandalorian and the Super Commandos to try to make some unique Super Commandos to fight for Darth Maul. I did the same with the Mandalorian Pilot and Death Watch minifigures so that I got a good variation of Night Owls. I didn't need to do anything to the clones since they're clones and they all look the same, but with the custom minifigures finished, it was time to add them to the base. So I finally had all the minifigures I needed for this mock, and while they looked cool lined up in rows, they weren't going to be much good for fighting this way. So it was time to add them to this mock and finish this build. I took the minifigures over to the base and spent half an hour meticulously adding them into battle positions. And with that, I can finally say that this mock is complete. This mock is my biggest ever, and it took me over a year in preparations. The minifigures are really what make this mock stand out, because that's my strong point. But I'm really surprised with how well the builds came out. The center stage is smaller than it should be, but it still looks recognizable. The 2 buildings are relatively well mirrored, with a bit of uniqueness all the same. It turns out I had much more blue pieces than I realised, and I was really happy to be able to include them in this, which captures Mandalore well in my opinion. As I said, the minifigures are really what stand out here, but I still didn't have enough to properly fill up this build. So I was able to add things like speeders and this orange crate for the minifigures to stand behind to add a bit of extra detail. I didn't focus much on the interiors, and most of it is colourful brick structures to hold it up, and the only thing I've got at the moment is a ladder and a few gun stands, but hopefully I'll be able to add to it in a short series I'm planning on making. so hit subscribe if you'd like to see that. I'll see you all in the next one. Pieces.